Hey, welcome to The Explainer. This is where we dig into complex ideas and we do it by going straight to the source material.
So, today we're jumping into a really fundamental question. When you look at a sacred text like the Quran, what is it really for? Is it a private guide just for your soul, or is it something bigger, a public blueprint for society? And how you answer that, well, it changes everything. It leads to two completely different visions for the world. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to kick things off with the reading method itself, because that's the key. Then we'll look at the two very different worldviews that come out of it. We'll see it in action with a really important chapter, and then we'll unpack what it all means for a life of faith and ultimately for us, right here, right now.
Okay, so that big question, how do you even start to tackle it? Well, the source material we're looking at says it all comes down to how you read. It's all about the method. The idea is to get beyond just a single translation to find something much deeper. And the tool for this is something called semantic field analysis. Now, that sounds academic, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Instead of just grabbing one dictionary definition, you ask a really powerful question. How does the Quran define its own terms? It's about letting the Quran explain the Quran. So here's how it works. You take a key word, you find every single time it's used in the text. You look at the words around it, what supports it, what adds to it, what opposes it, and from all of that, you build a complete picture. Now, this is super important. The point isn't to just make up new meanings or toss out the classical dictionaries, not at all. It's about building a richer, fuller understanding of what a concept really meant in its original context. So, once you start using this method, you quickly find yourself at a fork in the road. It leads to two totally distinct ways of seeing the world. Let's start with the one that might be more familiar, what our source calls the classical or individualistic view. So in this view, faith is, it's a very personal thing. It's between you and God. The focus is on your own piety, your prayers, your charity, just being a good person. Public life, things like politics or the economy, that's kind of seen as a separate thing, handled by rulers or the state. The main goal here is your own personal salvation. Okay, so that's one path. Now let's look at the other one. Our source calls this the revivalist or collective view. And this view? It says that whole separation between private faith and public life, that's just not real. It's a false division. The text isn't just a guide for your soul. It's a call to build a civilization. It's a mandate to bring justice into every part of life, social, political, economic. So faith becomes this active, collective mission to transform society. All right, theory is one thing, but what does this look like in practice? Let's take these two views and apply them to Surah Al-Fatiha. This is the opening chapter of the Quran, recited by Muslims every single day. So it's the perfect test case.
Let's zoom in on just one phrase right at the beginning. God as the sustainer. The Arabic word is Rabb, of all the worlds. How you understand just this one idea completely changes the game.
Okay, so from that individual perspective, sustainer is personal. He sustains me. He provides for my needs. But the collective view pushes back and asks a really challenging question. If God is the sustainer of all worlds, does that authority just stop when you walk out the door of the mosque? Or does it and must it apply to the very systems, economic, political, that sustain our entire society? Let's try another one. What about God's mercy? This is another core idea, mentioned right in that same opening chapter.
And this really shows the difference in a powerful way. Is mercy just a private favor you ask for? God, have mercy on me. Or is it a collective responsibility, a command for believers to become the hands of God's mercy in the world by building systems of justice and social welfare? You see the shift? It goes from being a passive request to an active duty. Okay, so it's pretty clear this isn't just an academic debate. This difference in how you read the text leads to a completely different idea of what it means to live a life of faith. So if you're on that individual path, your focus is on a list of personal virtues and acts of worship. And these are all great things, right? Worship, charity, being a good person, having a family, avoiding major sins, all super important. But the collective view says, hold on, that's only half the picture. It includes all of those individual duties, for sure, but then it adds a big, non-negotiable plus, the collective struggle. This means actively challenging injustice, working to establish divine principles in society, and participating in that struggle even if it costs you personally. According to this source, this is the piece that's often been forgotten or left out of the modern understanding of faith. And the source material really puts a fine point on it with this question, It asks, how can you apply God in the masjid and not in society? When you go in masjid, the God is there. But when you go outside, the God is not there. It really makes you think about whether faith can be put in a box like that. So where does that leave us? Here we are, reading this ancient text in our modern world. What are the stakes, really? Well, the source presents a pretty powerful critique here. It argues that if you only focus on the personal side, God give me this, protect me from that, you risk flipping the whole relationship on its head. Suddenly, God becomes a sort of servant to our personal needs, and our responsibility for collective action, for changing the world, that just gets erased. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative idea to chew on. If a text is truly transcendent, meant for all people at all times, then how should it guide us? The way we choose to read it doesn't just define our private faith. According to this perspective, it actually defines the kind of world we are being called to build. It's not just about our private present, it's about our entire collective future.